basically when the wind's blowing, it pushes the wave that way, right? So a lot of times the backside of the wave is the steeper part of the wave, and then it's followed by kind of a slopey face of the wave. So it's not really like surfing where there's like a big face wave coming behind you and you can look behind you and see the wave coming. You really want to keep an eye more on what's happening in front of you. So if you're going downwind, there's going to be like a steep back of the wave, and obviously they go in sets. So like sometimes it'll be kind of flat, and then there'll be a set of 3 or 4 steeper bumps. And when you see the first one, sometimes you won't make it onto the first one, but then keep paddling and then try to get into the second bump. And just kind of keep an eye on, like, what you want to look for is right in front of the nose of your board, is that's where it's all happening. Don't try to look behind you, because you can't really see that long face of the wave. Doesn't look like much when you look behind you, but you can see the back of the wave in front of you. And then, you know, the wave length, usually the longer the bump is, the faster it travels, and the longer the fetch of the wind. So if the wind just has a small fetch, the bumps will be close together and moves more slowly. And then the longer fetch waves, wind waves, will be faster and have a longer wavelength. And then, you know, depending on the length of your board, some of the shorter bumps, you can't really go into them straight because your board will just purl into it. So a lot of times you have to kind of angle your board. So it's not just about catching the waves straight, but sometimes you have to get them at an angle or ride them at an angle just to be able to stay in there without the nose purling into you don't always just want to go straight into the steepest part of the bump, because then you'll just get stuck and then you'll fall off the bump. So sometimes it's better just to go towards the shoulder of the bump, but then always kind of, if it starts to fizzle out, and go back into the powerful spot, like Jared was saying, always kind of follow the bump where it's gonna go, and kind of keep it a little bit, focus on right in front of your nose, but also kind of be aware of what's happening to the left and the right, you know.
What downwind is all about is about being the most efficient through your stroke and through your bump riding techniques. And efficiency comes through also being able to read these lines. And if you should start kind of tacking back and forth, catching them inside, catching them outside, catch them inside, go straight. So those are all just about being efficient, I think, is the biggest part for a lot of us. Finding a stroke that works for you, because the strokes that we do in flat water, you can pretty much, you're not going to do that when there's bump. So you're going to have to develop your stroke and kind of tweak it a little bit, because it's going to be a lot of winding to get into the bump, and winding in the sense that your stroke rate's going to come higher. And it's basically just enough to get you in the bump. And once you glide, though, once you feel the board start gliding, the most important thing is to pretty much stop stroking or do light taps in it, and small short ones, because every time your paddle goes in, it's going to slow down, right? Your board, it kind of creates a drag. So if you're not paddling, if you're not tapping it properly with the flow of the board, then you're going to actually be slowing it down. So I've seen super strong people try to paddle this, and in the marina or upwind and whatever, they're super fast and efficient. And as soon as they get in bump, all that energy is wasted because they're overstroking or understroking at the wrong times, you know. So it's really, find the momentum of the ocean and figure out, kind of start to really take notice what's going on. If you keep moving, if you keep going forward kind of at a good pace, and those are big, that's what I've learned that's kind of really worked for me. It's just, first you get out there and kind of go slow and just feel which direction. Let the board take, the board's going to want to run in the direction of groundswell or current and everything else, right? So kind of let it go and feel where it wants to go. Don't necessarily try to fight it, even though you see a bump moving this way, because even though the way the groundswell runs, there's also another trick which you hear about quartering swells. So even when you're running with them, groundswell is going to be coming out like this or going straight, right? And if that's the case, not all the time do you need to go necessarily this way. There might be something running behind it, the swell, the ocean swell coming out from the outside of the ocean, and instead of running parallel, you know, directly east with it, we want to kind of cut behind it, and you'll find that these tiny little bumps will be the ones that carry you the longest ways. Don't just look for things that look like they're cresting, and sometimes feel it out. So a big thing is people, we start to commit to too much one direction. If we see bumps just running consistently over there, then they're not really paying attention to which way the board actually wants to go. And now we start